Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this special behind the scenes live interview recording. And I'm absolutely delighted to introduce someone many of you will remember from our inaugural Expedition Cruise Network conference back in 2024. So today we are joined by Jason Flesher, Director of Discovery Operations at Scenic. Jason is not only one of the most experienced and respected leaders in our industry, but also someone whose passion for wilderness education, exploration, and guest experience has shaped the very DNA of Scenic Discovery Program. So over his 43-year career, thank you for correction, Jason, Jason has worn many hats, polar guide, helicopter operations lead, expedition leader, and now the architect behind Scenic's multidimensional approach to exploration. So he oversees the complex choreography that brings together bridge teams, pilots, submarine specialists, hotel crew, and of course, Scenic's exceptional expedition guides. And his work ensures that every voyage is not only safe and seamless, but deeply immersive, purposeful, and full of moments guests carry with them long after they leave the ship. So, and I have to say, today feels especially exciting following Scenic's recent announcement that Scenic Icon will be joining the Discovery Yacht fleet in 2028. So there is no one better to give us a glimpse into what this means for expedition operations and for the future of luxury discovery travel. So Jason, we're really thrilled to have you back with the ECN community, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's such my pleasure. And thank you for that introduction. Yikes.
And, well, brilliant. Let's dive in. So
Okay.
obviously, Jason, many in our community know you from our inaugural conference when you
Yeah.
kindly agreed to join us and talk a little bit about Scenic Discovery Yacht. So could you actually start by sharing what first drew you to wilderness education and exploration and how that evolved into your current role at Scenic?
Well, going back 43 years, I started as a rock climbing instructor when I was 17. I'll let you guys do the math on my age.
Okay.
And um and I just absolutely fell in love with just being in the outdoors and everything. And I just wanted so much input from climbing, caving, backpacking, survival skills, mountaineering, everything, everything under the sun. And then I just fell in love with teaching it and sharing it with other people. I did join the Navy when I was 20 because I wanted to rock climb around the world and see the world. And I ended up, one, falling in love with the Navy, but two, I climbed all over the world and competed. And then when I got out of the service, I started my first outdoor business. And then that grew and grew. And then I started a consulting business. And then I spent a lot of time. I also have over 40 years in wilderness search and rescue,
Mm.
domestically as well as internationally. So bringing that risk management and those skills to use. And I joined search and rescue because I wanted to give back. That was my way of giving back to the communities. And then I started my polar expedition career back in 2009, 2010 season, and have had the honor of just being down Antarctica over 100 times now, guiding down there. And then Scenic back in 2018 sought me out and actually asked me if I would be a lead kayak guide because I also had my paddling certifications. And I said, yeah, sure, okay. And then they said, can you come to the shipyard and set up the expedition equipment because it's all sitting on the dock? It's like, yeah, okay. And then I spent a month in the shipyard, and then they said, oh, by the way, can you now become our first discovery leader or expedition leader? But we call it discovery on our maiden voyage in 2019. Yeah, okay, because I have experience as expedition lead. And then that was it. Then after that, being the first discovery leader on board the ships, and then becoming the discovery manager and now director of discovery operations. So been with Scenic since late 2018.
So talk about fast track career at
It's
Scenic.
been endless, yes.
Brilliant. So when you think back on your career from, polar guiding to leadership, what experiences most shaped your approach to creating guest experiences today?
That's a really good question. And to be honest with you, I've done a lot of nonprofit work with kids, with youth, and
Mm,
I've done a lot with adults as well. And one of the things that I learned working with adults is they forget how to play. They
mm,
forgot what it was like to be a kid and have that sense of wonder and exploration. So when I started creating adult programs in my own business and then with other businesses and now with Scenic, it's how do you break the persona of being grown up all the time and remembering what it was like to be a kid again. So with Scenic, we have the adult toys, right? We have helicopters,
mm,
submersibles, kayaks, paddleboards, zodiacs, all that good stuff. So when I create itineraries and so on, I create them to have that sense of wonder of what's around the next corner, what's over there, can we
mm,
explore there? And it just organically um, breaks the shield, so that the Teflon of adults, and it creates that sense of wonder with them. And within 3, 4 days on the ship, the energy just explodes because, they're all interacting. Oh, we did this, we did that. Did you remember seeing that? And having that shared experience, regardless what activity they were doing, reminds them of that sense of exploration. And tomorrow they're going on a helicopter ride,
mm.
flight things like, oh my God, I'm so excited to see. So for me, that's what I truly try to build in and help adults because they're so busy in their day-to-day life and work and family and everything. They just forget about themselves. And that's what I try to create.
So it's quite interesting because, I shared with you that I worked a little bit for on board an expedition ship for another ultra luxury expedition cruise
Right,
operator. And my personal experience is that, you very often work with clients who are very well experienced travelers and
right,
very often as well people who are privileged and have loads of experiences, and sometimes they can be a little bit jaded, right? I mean, about
right.
they've seen it, they've done it, and so on. So what do you think makes expedition cruising such a compelling way to bring back that kid, that sort of innocence to the
Sure.
experience? What do you think is the kind of combination that even those clients walk away
Right.
saying like, wow, that was very cool?
One of the things I learned very early on with Scenic
Uh,
is we have two types of cruisers. When we're in the Mediterranean and we're in what we call as classic cruise mode,
yeah.
just like any cruise
Mm,
ship, you have the ultra luxury on board the ship, but then every day you're doing cultural tours with local guides, right? You're doing shore
mm,
excursions, what we call as scenic free choice. And what's so interesting is we're begging people to go on a helicopter ride. Oh, come on, check it out. It'll be amazing. We can fly you over the Greek
mm,
islands, whatever. They're not so much interested. And then we have is called discovery mode, where it's a blend of classic cruising and a blend of expedition or discovery, where we'll have days where we're in a port, and then we have days where the discovery team is doing full discovery. Now, those classic cruisers never been on a Zodiac
mm.
before, right? Or done kayaking, paddleboarding. And when they do it for the first time, one, they said, I didn't know we were going to do this. And excuse my language, holy shit, that was amazing. And then they sign up for an Antarctic expedition, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to do a full-on expedition because they had so much fun. So it's really interesting capturing a classic cruiser who loves to port, but then we can give them the opportunity to see that country, see that place from a different perspective with a remote beach landing by Zodiac or
Mm.
kayaking, paddleboarding the shoreline, or getting up in the helicopter and seeing it from the bird's eye view or below the water in the submersible to see the aquatic life. So I think that helps change their persona of the difference of what a cruise is versus what an expedition cruise is.
And I think sometimes as well, in destinations like Antarctica, there's an element of spontaneity that you cannot manufacture,
Yeah,
whales that show up and stuff like that, which kind of brings back that joy of, discovery, I suppose. But
very much.
brilliant. So take us behind the curtain. And so, what does an expedition operations day actually look like for you and your team from the night before through to the guest feedback when you are in a destination like Antarctica or the Arctic?
Sure. So basically, the night before, the discovery leader is working with the captain very closely because our captains are
Mm,
expedition captains and confirming the following day, right? What's the weather condition? What's the sea state condition? What's it going to look like? And especially in Antarctica, Antarctica dictates where you can go and when you can go. So if the weather is looking pretty cruddy where we're supposed to go, they'll look for, we're, knock on wood, we're very good at this, at finding microclimates of good climate somewhere, a pocket of good climate. I can tell you in an entire season in Antarctica, which is 4 months, maybe 2 days out of that entire season were blown out where
mm,
we can't do anything. We always find a way and find a microclimate. So either they're going to find a microclimate and go there, or the day looks good. So then the discovery leader will brief the team. They'll have a team meeting that night. So this takes place around dinner time, 5, 6
mhm,
p.m. And then the team will get briefed around 7 of what the morning excursion is going to look like. It's a landing or it's a Zodiac cruise, so the teams can prepare properly. Then the following morning, let's say it's an 8 a.m. start with guests, which means it's a 7:30 start for getting everything out of the ship, which means at about 6:30 in the morning, everyone is on the bridge, all the leads, the captain, staff captain, the kayak lead guys, the paddle boards, the shore team, the helicopter pilots, the submersible team. And that's where we have a go, no go
yep,
decision, right? Because the sea state may be okay for kayaking, but not for paddleboarding, or the wind is within the parameters for kayak, but not paddleboard. So the paddleboard guides will stay on the bridge to see if the winds die down and
yep,
delay. Okay, same with the sea state for subs and then ceiling heights for helicopters. So once we have the go no go meeting, if it's a full on go day, then it's full on go day. So everybody's on standby in the garage or in the heli decks or wherever. And what's amazing with Scenic Eclipse, she's a beautiful super yacht when she's
mm,
closed up. And when she's opened up and all the garage doors are open, the heli deck is open, she's like a lotus flower opened up and she's full expedition and it's full on. And we're so efficient that literally once the captain puts the ship on dynamic positioning, within 15 to 20 minutes, everything is off the ship. The sub, the paddle stuff, the zodiacs, everything. So guests are automatically leaving the ship within 25 to 30 minutes of the time we get on station, where many ships I've worked on, that can take an hour to an hour
mm.
and a half before guests are leaving when you have to drop an anchor.
Brilliant. And talking about the various types of activities you offer in destination like Antarctica,
Yeah.
and of course, there are various considerations. You don't want people to fall into water. There's hypothermia and all these kind of
Right.
different things. And so, can you just because obviously majority of people joining us today work in travel trade and they sell expedition cruising to Antarctica and other parts of the world. So um, what is the limitation? How many people can take part in the stand-up paddleboarding activity when it's possible to do so?
Sure. That's a great question. And let me just state that with Scenic, it's truly all inclusive.
Hmm.
So y- I know with other operators, they say they're all inclusive, but then you're going to pay $800 to go
Yeah,
kayaking or
yeah.
paddleboarding, right? It truly, truly is all inclusive. So there's no charge at all for the excursions, for the kayaks, paddleboards. So when we do it, it's a sign up basis.
Hmm.
We can take 18 guests at a time.
Hmm.
We have tandem kayaks. Um, so it's 18 guests on a paddle excursion and then 10 guests on paddle boarding excursion. Now, in Antarctica, we normally always do 2 excursions a day. We do a morning excursion, have lunch, relocate, and then an afternoon. So basically, that's 36 a day
Mm.
kayakers and 20 a day paddleboarders. So we're very good at during a typical Antarctic trip of getting over about 120 guests kayaking and
Mm.
60 or so paddleboarding. But we always get everybody through the first round.
Yep.
They're first timers, and then you can sign up for a second or third time. Doesn't
Brilliant.
matter. It's up to you. So we'll get people two, three, four rounds.
Do you require them to have some experience? Because, like,
Nope.
I don't know how many people tried stand-up paddleboarding, but
Well, and that's the beautiful
the
thing. You
beginning
don't
is
have to
usually
stand up.
quite, okay. Oh, yeah, of course. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And we have dry suits for everybody, where I know other operators don't even have dry suits,
Yeah,
but we
okay.
have dry suits. So for kayakers and paddleboardings, you're in a dry suit. So if you go on, and when I'm on the ship, it's so funny. Somebody said, "Oh, I fell in the water." And I said, "That's great. So I got my polar plunge in." No, you didn't, because you got a dry suit on. It doesn't count. And then the paddle boarders, because they're in dry suits, just about every time they all want to go test the water, so they all jump in, because you can, and it's okay. And then they get back on their paddle boards, but they're in a dry suit, so they just want to kind of experience. So those options are always there, but you don't need any experience. One thing I will say, when we do guided
Mm,
paddles, we're not instructing on how to paddle, right? We'll
mm.
teach you how to get in and out of the kayak from the Zodiac or on a paddleboard. The paddleboard instructor, it's up to you. He or she will teach you how to stand, but you don't have to. They're going to tell you can sit, you can kneel, you can stand. It doesn't matter. It's about the enjoyment of doing it.
And what do you think is so special about being able to see Antarctica from a stand-up paddleboard or kayak?
The
What's
silence,
the
the
silence? Okay.
silence. You're silently going. You don't have the engine of a Zodiac. You're listening to the ice popping all around you. You're hearing the penguins. You're hearing whales spouting. You're hearing seals singing because of that silence while you're just cruising through the water. Nothing
And
like it.
I can imagine it must be incredible experience. And talking about the stand-up paddleboarding and kayaking, I imagine in the Arctic it's limited to certain destinations, or it's completely
Yeah.
banned because obviously polar bears
So
and stuff. Yeah.
Right. So Norway and Iceland, we will offer paddleboarding,
Hmm.
but Svalbard, Greenland, Canadian Arctic, we do not, because you cannot outrun a polar bear on
Yeah,
a paddleboard.
absolutely. And probably you
So we
wouldn't
do
want to.
offer kayaking.
Yes.
We still offer kayaking
Okay.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. And then of course, Scenic is quite unique because you also have helicopters and the submarine. So what do these assets unlock for clients that traditional expeditions cannot offer from your point of view?
There's a couple things. One, we do a lot of unique landings. So in
Hmm.
East Antarctica, Uh, we're going to Mawson's Hut, which is a very
Mm.
famous Australian explorer. The sea ice is about 20 miles away from land. So there's another ship, another company actually this season going as well. While we're there flying our guests to and from the huts, they're stuck 20 nautical miles away. They won't even see the huts, and they may get an ice landing. They won't get near their objective. Also, in the Ross Sea, we're the only vessel that can get guests to the inland dry valleys. And the dry
Mm.
valleys are places in Antarctica that have not seen precipitation in over 1 million years.
Wow.
And so NASA, all the scientists around the world study because you see nearly 2 billion-year-old rocks and bedrock in the dry valley. And it's like Mars. You're surrounded by mountains and glaciers, but there's nothing there. And that's where they find a lot of meteorites that have come. That's where they found the Martian meteorite that came from Mars. So that's in East Antarctica, but also what's very special, where with Scenic is we can give you that four-dimensional experience in
Mm.
a single day. So in Antarctica, you may wake up, take a helicopter flight, because Antarctica is the most mountainous continent in the world. So you fly, and then you can fly up to the polar cap
Mm.
and see the polar ice cap on the peninsula
Yeah.
and fancy a walk to get to the South Pole. And then later in the morning, go do a submersible dive and see what lies beneath the Southern Ocean. And then the afternoon, you're kayaking, paddleboarding, Zodiac cruising, or on shore, right? So you can have a four-dimensional experience wherever in the world you are in a single day
Mm.
and have that experience of where you truly are from every angle and every dimension.
So, what surprised you personally the first time you took a dive with submersible in Antarctica? I presume you did,
Um,
no?
yeah, well, you know, I remember because when I was on board when we did the first dives in South Georgia
Uh-huh.
and Antarctica, and in South Georgia, they they have not had commercial diving. We were the first. And
Wow.
so we were in the bays and we saw shipwrecks. We saw whaling tackle from the late 1800s to the early 1900s. We saw artifacts down there and cataloged it for the South Georgia,
Wow.
right? And then of course you see penguins swimming by you. Um, we've seen I was on board when we saw a leopard seal 60 meters down,
Mm,
following us down. No one knew they went that far down. And it came up like a ghost right up to the bubble to see what we were. We were also the first to discover Chilean king crab had made it to the Antarctic continental shelf. And this was something all the scientists in
mm,
the world were worried about with the Southern Ocean
mm,
warming, because they'll decimate the aquatic life on the seafloor. So we filmed it, cataloged it, and sent it to the United Nations, to IATA, that crap, they're here.
mm.
Um, so we see a lot of wonderful things, and it's the experience of seeing what's down there, and especially the aquatic life that lives on the ocean floor in the Southern Ocean that survives down there. And it's so cool.
I can imagine. I mean, I think
Yeah.
this year's conference we had a great speaker, Richard Vevers, who
Yeah.
talked about the ocean and how little we know actually about it, and how amazing it is to have these opportunities to see what's down below. So, actually, talking a little bit about, because it's very common in the expedition cruising world for expedition cruise operators to work with various scientific communities and citizen
Yeah.
science projects and all sort of. Could you talk us through a little bit if you guys are doing anything in that regard, and or if you have any plans, because obviously you have these amazing tools that I'm sure a lot of scientists would be very keen to get hold of or to
Oh, they're
experience with
pounding
there.
at the
Yes.
door to get on the ship, trust me. So,
Okay.
with the submersibles, we work with a nonprofit where we do filming. So every dive we do, whether on Eclipse 1 or 2,
Mhm,
and then soon Icon in Antarctica, we film the ocean floor. Now, this nonprofit, who's based in San Diego in the United States, works with the United Nations scientific community. So if they see any um, rare geographic or geology or wildlife anomalies down there,
mhm,
they have the authority to name that area, close that area for only scientific purposes and allowing commercial sightseeing. But basically, we're protecting the ocean floor from any type of future mining, drilling or fishing or anything like that. So our subs do all that filming and then send all that information to San Diego where they scrub it
mm.
and see if they see anything, then they close that area. Now, what's cool is they name it after scenic. So it could be a scenic eclipse seamound or
Okay.
whatever. And then, but it can never be exploited. We can go
Okay.
visit it, right? But you can't exploit it. Um, we also do whale specific identification. We work with Happy Whale and so on whale identification and protection. In East Antarctica, I have so many scientists coming. I have scientists coming with the Mawson's Hut Foundation for preservation of the huts. I have the Australian Antarctic Department coming to, their ornithologists are coming to do check on the Adelie penguin colonies, the health of the colonies and penguin counts. I have scientists coming in the Ross Sea. We're on our first Ross Sea voyage. They're coming from the UK and Australia. We're dropping them off on our first Ross Sea, and a month later, we'll pick them back
Ah,
up.
okay.
We're dropping them off at Mount Erebus,
Wow.
and they're going to be climbing Mount Erebus and then going to the Antarctic mountain range and then hopefully coming back. Um, but what they're doing is they're doing a study because of um, drug-resistant bacteria around
Mm.
penicillin. And there's bacteria that survive in eastern Antarctica in the ice. So they're going to be doing study samples of this bacteria in different locations around to, you know, create um, anti-drug resistant bacteria, right?
Oh, wow.
So
Amazing.
these are medical scientists that are going to be doing studies, and then we'll pick them back up and bring them home. But it'll be really cool. And of course, they'll be doing lectures on the ship and so on. So we're, like I said, literally, I have so many scientists pounding at the doors, and I have to turn many away because we just don't have the capacity to
Mm.
take them all the time. But these are who we're working with this season.
Brilliant. And speaking about the lectures, and of course, expedition cruising is synonymous with education while you're traveling, and
Right.
you always have all these different specialists on board the ship. So, and I presume your team as well includes experts from many disciplines: the geology, marine biology, photography, mountaineering, you name it.
Yeah.
What do you look for when you are building an expedition team for expedition voyages?
So I'm really proud of our
Mhm.
discovery team. Now, one thing for those who don't know, they call it expedition cruising,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But we call it discovery, our discovery yachts. Everything's discovery because it's not necessarily what you're physically going to discover. It's
Mm,
about what you're going to discover inside as well.
mm,
Like I mentioned early
mm,
on about those experiences. So with the discovery team, they come from all over the world. They're specialists in their own rights, PhDs, master degree holders in all the ologies, marine biology, ornithology, geology, glaciology, so on. I do not hire because, like I said, I've been in the industry for 43 years. I've worked with many
mm,
expedition operators and so on, and companies all over the world. I don't hire to fill slots,
mm,
right? I hire based on personality
mm,
because it's the personality of a person. We can train most people to do anything, but you cannot give them a personality. And
mm,
I'm trying to create synergy in the team because it's that synergy that's very infectious for the
mm,
team, ship, and the guests, right? And so when you have a solid, cohesive team, then everything just goes so smoothly. So my team, like other operators, will hire just lecturers and then just have Zodiac
mm,
drivers and then your guides on shore. Our team are your lecturers. They're your Zodiac drivers, your kayak guides, your paddleboard guides. They're on shore with you, so they're giving you not only that firsthand understanding of what's happening right in front of you, but then they're the ones doing the deep dive in the lectures as well too. And so it's that well-rounded synergy that's just so important for the guest experience, I feel.
absolutely. And do you see, having worked for various operators, as you just mentioned before, do you see a difference between what is required from Discovery team members on board an ultra luxury ship as opposed to the others? Do you think they need to have some additional skills like customer care and stuff like that, or
We
is it
train them.
something you really sort of pay attention to?
Right. And once
Yeah,
again, it goes back to
yeah,
that
yeah. Good.
personality. Are
Okay.
they the
Mm,
right fit? Right.
yeah.
Are they the right fit for our guests as well as for the team? But then I have on board the Scenic Academy, and the Academy is actually an 11 module training.
Okay.
So, for instance, if we get experienced guides that
Yeah.
have years of experience, that's great, but because we have heli and subs and a different way we operate, right? Because we have Zodiac
Mm,
garages, we don't train. They still need to learn our operational stuff. So
sure.
they'll do module 8 or module 6, and then we have a module on how we developed ultra luxury on the ship to
Mm,
off the ship, and how do you deliver that,
yeah.
right? So we train on that as well too. So once again, it comes always back down to the personality. And to be honest with you, in the guiding world, many of them are just prima donnas.
Of course. I
And
mean,
they think
there is
they're
a
the
reason I'm asking this question, eh?
right. And they think they're the shit of everything, right? And
Yeah.
one of the things that's very important to me on the ship, if I ever hear that one of the expedition team treats our crew differently because they come from all over the world in different countries, then they're gone. Their
Mm,
contract won't. We're all human beings. We're all the same people. We're trying to deliver something together, and we're above no one, right?
yeah.
Every job is so relevant to the guest experience, and I won't tolerate. And so once again, it goes to the right personality and someone who's willing to learn and
Mm,
don't think that, oh, I know it all, or we do it this way here, we do it that way there. It's like, that's great, but this is the way we're doing it here.
yeah.
Um, and it's so important having the right
Yeah.
personality, to
Absolutely,
fit.
because
Yeah.
you're also working in a close space
Defined.
for a
Yeah,
defined
very
space for quite a
defined.
long time. Exactly. So absolutely.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, what does a great expedition leader do that guests may never notice? Or it doesn't have to be expedition leader; it could be as well discovery team member.
It's
What are the little things?
everybody.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's behind the scenes. Like our sub pilots, every morning they're up at 4. If they're doing a morning
Mm,
operation starting at 8 a.m., that means they got to be up at 4 a.m.
mm,
to do all the pre-checks of the submersible, to get the submersible ready, just to get off the ship.
mm,
And that takes hours because they have to do all that before the go, no go meeting to
mm,
make sure the sub is ready to go. Because if the
yeah.
sub has a technical issue, we need to know at the go, no go
Mm,
meeting, right? And then after they're done in the evening, because they'll do morning ops and then afternoon ops, it takes another 2, 3 hours to basically put the sub to bed, clean her up, freshwater rinse, and power down everything, but then refuel the oxygen tanks and stuff for the next day. So that's the sub discovery team. The discovery team has, after a full day, they have to get all the gear organized, cleaned up, ready for the next day. But then in the morning, they're up early to make sure the guest mud, the muck boots and everything is ready in the mud room. They have to make sure all the gear for that morning operation is ready as
mm,
well. So their days are about 16-hour days, and we
mm,
rotate the team. We have, a team of 26 people. That
mm,
includes heli pilots, sub pilots, discovery team as well. But, so we rotate those duties. So two people are dealing with cleaning up gear in the evening, where two people in the morning are making sure
yeah.
the gear is dry. We have drying racks. So on the evening, they're on the drying racks. In the morning, it gets put away, in the paddling guide. So, and the heli folks are putting the helicopters to bed once again, cleaning them up and then in the morning, it takes an hour to get them out and ready and so on. So it's a lot of behind the scenes while the discovery leader is working with the captain
Mm.
on the next day's itineraries of
And
go, no go.
I assume as well with the hotel director, because again, something exciting is happening. It's a completely different set of skills with these guys as
Yes.
well, because they have to basically work together with you to make sure that they push back the lunches, dinners, and whatever else, right?
Yes.
So yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So we have a lot of WhatsApp groups on the
Okay.
ship, right? So
Brilliant.
from housekeeping, hotel director, if we're changing anything on the expedition side, because expedition takes priority,
Yeah.
everyone needs to know, right?
Okay.
So whether, like you said, either meals get extended or pushed back, but then also we need, because the discovery team misses meals, we
Mm,
need to make sure the crew mess is opened late or there's special sandwiches made for them, for the heli or the sub guys, because they're out there all day.
yeah.
So we have to have box lunches. And so there, and then there's so much coordinate. And then for housekeeping, letting them know guests are coming back with wet gear and prepare and blah,
Mm,
blah, blah, because, and the butler service,
yeah.
or warm drinks at the gangway because it's snowing and the
Yeah.
weather is cruddy out, but everybody's outside playing. So they'll have hot towels and warm drinks at the gangway for the guests ready, right? So
Yeah.
it's the synergy. Once
Yeah.
again, it's
Yeah.
that synergy.
It's amazing. Well, I do miss these times, when you are sort of like feeling like a one big family trying to get these things together and making sure that everybody's
Right.
having an amazing time. Um,
And it's
let
seamless to the guests. They
Yeah,
have no
absolutely.
idea.
Yeah, they have no
No
idea.
idea.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is
I'm sure we
perfect.
could. Yeah,
We don't
brilliant.
want them to know. We just
No,
want them to show up and have a good time. That's what it's about.
exactly. So moving on and talking a little bit about Scenic Icon because it's such an exciting
Yeah.
announcement from Scenic. This new ship will basically add the third ship to the Discovery fleet. What excites you most about this new ship from an operations perspective and in general? I mean, anything you would like to tell us about the Scenic Icon?
Yeah. One, to be honest with you, we're taking ultra luxury and elevating it to the ultimate in luxury.
Okay.
Icon and her sister ship, because once Icon launches, we're building her sister ship.
Okay.
We're going to have 10 ships by 2030, because
Wow.
that includes the Emerald ships as well, too. Um, but a couple things. Internally, she is, 270 guests, but she's much larger. So she's still going to have that very large yacht feel like the Eclipse is. The helicopters will not be on the back of the ships. It'll
Mm,
be on the bow because we listen to the guests and the guests want a full-size pool. So on the back of the ship, on the stern, we're putting a full-size pool with restaurants back there. So we're actually going to have 15
yeah.
restaurants instead of the 10 and 9 bars. And they're all unique, all boutique, all inclusive,
Yeah.
nothing, you pay for. But on the expedition side, I'm very excited about is we're going to be able to have the discovery team on board year round. So when we're in the Mediterranean, 70% of the time, those guests, when we're, it's classic cruise mode. So when they're doing, their shore excursions with local guests, if we have more active guests that may not want to go out on an excursion that day, which is all inclusive as well, they can go with the discovery team on a trail run or a trail hike or hike a mountain or go on a guided paddle,
Yeah.
something with the discovery team. And the discovery team will still give you that enriching cultural, experience as well as what guests are doing, but a little bit more active for them.
Yeah. So you shared with me just before we started the recording that you will be heading to Europe to do some scouting for the Scenic Icon itineraries. Are there any specific activities you are very excited to find or like you will be looking for that are high on your list?
Yep. So one of the things that we're really excited about too with Icon that I'm involved with is those guests that book early in the early bird booking will get a free 20-minute flight seeing experience.
Okay.
And then also for those guests that book in the owner suites or the Icon Penthouse suites or our Chairman Club members
Hmm.
will get an all-inclusive heli landing, a
Wow.
unique landing,
Okay.
whether it's heli golfing or to a winery or a culture experience. So I'll be scouting those unique heli landing areas.
Okay.
And then also I'll be scouting, like I said, for the discovery activities, because we want to get these things to the catalog so guests have ahead of time the
Yeah.
choices. So I'll get all this scouting done for the helicopters, for the paddling, for the land stuff with the Discovery team in 2026 before she launches in 28. So all our guests will see all this stuff in the
Mm,
catalogs a year prior. So those are the type of things. And then we're going to roll that program out for the helicopter program to the eclipses as well too. And
okay.
then it'll be the same in Antarctica. Well, guests will actually get for the early birds a all-inclusive 30-minute heli
Okay.
experience or the guest, in the owner suites or the Chairman Club members will get a free landing to the Snow Hill Emperor Penguin Colony as
Okay.
well. So
Brilliant.
those type of options. Yeah.
Okay. Staying a little bit longer on the icon. So, if you could design a perfect expedition day on board icon, and let's make it more challenging and talk about Mediterranean, for example. What elements would it include? Like, for those active guests, what would be a great expedition day in this
A
probably a little
great
bit more, yeah.
expedition day would be a island with a beautiful white sandy beach in the
Okay.
Mediterranean where we park your yacht a few hundred meters off the coast. We set up the beach. We put the kayaks, the paddleboards, the sea bobs, the snorkeling gear, the floating trampoline out there on the beach. Hospitality sets up the chairs, sets up a bar and food, and we even have a floating bar, so you don't even have to
Mm,
leave tropical waters. The bartender will come to you.
mm,
Um, and you have that full expedition day off of the beach while your yacht is just a few hundred meters off the coast. And that to me, and then we would have, if the beach has hiking trails or something, we would set up hikes to a high point so you can get a beautiful view of the surrounding tropical oceans, the beach below, and your yacht out there, and the helicopter flying above, and just checking it out because we want to be able to offer the guests that only billionaires get off of their yachts, but
yeah.
you can offer the eclipses, and that's the experience we strive for. It's all about the experience that we truly strive for the guests.
Brilliant. So talking a little bit then, about how to sell Scenic Eclipse and Scenic Discovery Yacht. So for travel advisors who potentially are new to Scenic, what are the most important differentiators they should understand when positioning the brand for their clients?
I think one that I really want to hammer home is the truly all-inclusive.
Mm,
The free Wi-Fi, all the restaurants are inclusive, all the bars, we have 120 on the Eclipse's whiskey bar, and there's some very expensive whiskeys there, all inclusive. On Icon, she's going to have 150 whiskey bar, right?
mm,
All inclusive. The kayaking, the paddleboarding, the zodiacs, all the shore excursions, in the classic cruise mode, all inclusive. That's really important. We truly are all inclusive. Now, granted, we are going to be offering for the early birds the free flight seeing, or those unique heli landings. But if you want to fly a second time, um, there is a charge for that because it is expensive for me to operate the helicopters and the submersible.
mm,
So there really are only three things. The spa is
mm,
all inclusive, but if you want a special spa treatment,
mm,
there's a cost for that, or that second heli flight or sub dive. But beyond that, everything is all inclusive. And we all are also unveiling starting in 27 for Antarctica. For those guests that book in the um, those high-end suites or the Chairman Club members will get a free um, exclusive private jet from Buenos Aires to Ushuaia.
okay.
That's all inclusive as well
Brilliant.
too. So all inclusive is just so important. And also, I just want to say guests with mobility issues that you may have that are maybe a little apprehensive to go on an expedition ship, we always find a way. I can tell you countless stories with guests with mobility issues. We will get them on the Zodiacs. We will get them out there. And maybe they can't, walk on shore, but we'll set up a chair on shore and get them to that chair so they can still be there, or we'll Zodiac cruise the shoreline, whatever. We find a way. We always
Brilliant.
do for everyone to have that shared experience.
Brilliant. And then, talking about the guest, and so what type of traveler is the best fit for scenic discovery yachts, and what are the early indicators that the client is a scenic guest?
Any traveler, to be honest with you, if you're looking, if you're just a cruiser, I don't know how else to put that,
Yeah.
that you prefer a classic cruise, but then you have that ultra luxury ship, you have that resort, all-inclusive resort to always come home to, or just stay on board with.
Mm,
But then if you want that little bit of adventure, then Eclipse has, like I mentioned earlier, that four-dimensional experience
Mm.
to provide for those guests that literally no other operator has heli and sub. Some copied us and have a sub or they have a heli, but no one has both on board. Still, Eclipse is the only one.
Brilliant. And what are the common misconceptions or overlooked selling points you wish advisors knew about Scenic
Well, we
beyond
do
what
have
this was mentioned?
right. We do have our loyalty club,
Hmm.
members. And
Yep.
as I mentioned, striving for the
Yep.
chairman's club. And we have over 100 guests now in the chairman's club because the points for all our river ships, because we have 23, 24 river ships, our emerald ships, our land tours, all those points now, and then with our ocean vessels, starting in 26, we're combining all those points so they're not separate anymore. So it all works towards that chairman level as well, which is very
Okay.
important. And so any of the guests that have ever been on river cruises in the past, those points are going to all go into a single
Yeah.
pot.
Yeah.
Other way to explain.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So that's really important. Yeah, for those. And and just remember within the scenic family, we have the river cruises, we have the land tours, we have the ocean vessels, which is so important. And the other thing too, for travel advisors to understand is scenic is the only company, and it's the second largest privately owned company in the world, where literally we have our own naval architects. We lease the shipyard, so we have our own builders. Everyone on the ship is crewed by Scenic. So it's truly all Scenic. We control everything from the concept to the build to the manning of all our vessels and stuff. And no other operator does that because it's
Mm.
very complex, but we do that. So that just makes it more cohesive in the way we run our
Brilliant.
vessels. Yeah, because we don't have third parties out there telling
Yeah,
us
of
what to
course. Yeah.
do. We don't have
Yeah.
corporations telling us, what to do.
That's a great point, actually, because it is, for anyone who has worked in this industry long enough, will know that there are different
Big
players
difference.
involved,
Yeah.
and how this can be sometimes challenging.
Very much so. And many of the expedition companies now have been bought out by the corporations,
Mm.
the big corporations. And unfortunately, and I say this genuinely, unfortunately, when they say they're all inclusive or, a lot of that is being diminished. Now they're having to charge for
Mm.
bar tabs, they're having to charge for paddling. And it's just unfortunate. And I genuinely say that because I've worked with a lot of those expedition companies when they were mom and pop companies and been bought out. So you'll see the changes in there.
Mm.
And that's one of the things, and I'm genuinely saying this, that I love working with Scenic because it is privately owned and it won't
Mm.
be sold.
Brilliant. So perhaps because we're kind of we are running out of time, so I
Yeah.
have one final question to you, Jason.
Okay.
So, what
You
destination or idea is tugging at you for the future of both, scenic discovery yachts and destinations, and for you personally, and where do you dream of taking guests next?
Africa. Africa.
Africa, Africa. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
East Coast, West Coast,
Yes,
both.
yes. We're working on African itineraries,
Mm.
right? Of course, in safe areas of Africa.
Yep.
So I'm very excited about that. I just hope one day that the Russian Far
Yeah.
East and Franz Josef Land will open up because the Arctic, Svalbard, Greenland, I just got an email today about Greenland
Mm.
creating
No
um,
go zones. No
no-go
go
zones and
zones. Yeah.
everything. It's just becoming so difficult
Mm.
to do anything in the Arctic to see
Mm.
polar bears. But what's really cool, next year, we're taking Scenic Eclipse to Churchill. And
Wow.
so
Okay.
we'll be in Hudson Bay and we're going to be spending a lot of time because fortunately there's no restrictions with the polar bears. So we can truly go back to the roots of expeditioning around, polar bear country in Hudson Bay.
And that's also the area where there are good chances to see beluga whales, if I'm not mistaken. It's
You can see we see belugas
yeah.
quite often in uh St. Lawrence Seaway
Yes, yeah,
and around Canada. So we do go through St. Lawrence and we do go to Halifax where we frequently do see beluga. The Northwest Passage is a good
yeah,
place to see Norwell and so
yeah.
on, but definitely the chances in Hudson Bay. Yeah,
Brilliant. Excellent. Well, Jason, I am very grateful for you to spend
my
this
pleasure.
afternoon with me. And I know that we had several people joining us. I don't know if anyone has last minute burning questions to Jason. If you do have some questions, this is your opportunity to ask. Let's see. Thank you. Great presentation. That's Debbie. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Yeah. Otherwise, this is the end. And of course, we record these sessions, so they will be shared with the our members on our website. And with that, I'm wishing you a lovely afternoon, or whatever is the time where you are. And I hope to
Thank
see you
you.
in future somewhere soon. So thank you once again, and
Thank you, everyone.
have a
Thank you.
brilliant. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Bye.